All right, so game one versus Godslayer, Ronin versus Vyse.
And we're seeing those typical bans we've seen thus far. We're seeing Wheelix into Sasano, into Bologna.
Wheelix,
Wheelix being just a huge part of this game so far.
Wheelix has been huge in the league so far. I think being first banned is interesting, but probably just doing a little bit of research, seeing that the jungler, if they main a Wheelix, you definitely never ever want to give them. And then Wheelix, if they're super good at it. So just huge respect, and also a very good utility ban. Ganesha actually being the first one locked in. Karnano is going to be left open if Vyse is with Black Bullet, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Leaving Vyse to hover on Thoth, probably going to lock that in. Pretty high damage in that mid lane. I think the character dropped off a little bit because a lot of teams were discouraged from playing him. He lost a few times, but he's still just as good regardless of the win rate that he's had in the league so far. And he will be locked in Black Bullet 9, thinking about what his team's going to be needing here.
Yep. Sagi, Taco, and Black Bullet, first two up to pick. Interesting for good pickup by Vyse there for Thoth. Thoth doing great job at this far.
He's been a great character, and I think he's been shut down in a few games, which discourages a lot of players from playing him, but he's still good, and that's a fine lock-in. Nobody's going to argue with that. Apollo also going to be locked in. It's interesting to see him get so much respect when I don't even think he's any better than maybe an A god. You can pick him up, but I don't think you pick him up in a first-pick situation. But Carnarvon and Poseidon are going to be the response on the side of GSR.
Yep, GSR, Godslayer Ronin.
Yeah, GSR going to be locking in Kronos and Poseidon. Already their draft looking pretty strong between Ganesha, Kronos, and Poseidon. I think that three-man unit right there is something they can center their team comp around, allow their jungler and solo laner to sort of pick more to their strengths as opposed to what the meta needs. They have plenty of meta in their first three picks.
And Poseidon switching off that master skin real quick there. Good job by him, remembering the rules.
Absolutely, and I think this third pick, if they're super smart and they're thinking real meta, Isis wouldn't be a bad pickup if they're actually no, they already locked in the Thoth. Excuse me, Isis would have been a good pickup in a response to Poseidon. That used to be a huge thing. You don't pick up Poseidon when the Isis is available, but locking in that Thoth makes it very safe for him to lock in that Poseidon. Camazot's going to be the choice of Vyse, Apollo, Thoth, and a Camazotz. How do you feel about that?
Great mobility between the Thoth and the Apollo. The Camazotz ult can get him out and into situations. It's very high. Camazotz has a lot of damage early. If he can get up to you and just hit you in the early game, it's going to be devastating because he does a lot of early game damage and he has lifesteal just from his passive. So he's actually a pretty good character in my opinion. We've seen him a few times in the actual pros lately as he's been buffed recently, I believe.
I don't know if I can't remember if he's been buffed, but he's getting popularity. He's very mobile, and he does random amounts of, not random amounts, he does pretty decent burst damage up against a single target. So I think with a character like Camazotz up your face, it's going to keep their attention away from somebody like a Thoth or an Apollo, who are both a couple of decently squishy characters, but you want to make sure that they stay alive and make it till mid to late game where they start hitting pretty hard.
I agree. Camazotz is just terrifying if he gets ahead, in my opinion. I've seen good Camazotz, and good Camazotz make me cry.
Absolutely. I also think the Camazotz isn't a bad pick going up against Poseidon. He can just ulti to respond to the Poseidon ult. Sure, you don't want to just waste your ult to avoid damage, but knowing that a Kraken is down is going to make it a lot easier for your team to respond to a team fight, as well as make a play into the mid lane if the Poseidon is exposed without his ultimate online.
Next two bands are going to be Khepri and Ravana, both highly played in the league thus far. Ravana being the bruiser that he is and jungler. Along with Khepri, who's been a Superman in whatever game he's been in, just get those key revives in team fights or sieges.
Absolutely, and I think Khepri hasn't been getting enough respect. I'd like to see him start getting picked earlier and earlier, as the advantage that he gives to the dual lane with such great clear and poke, as well as that revive coming on at level 5. I think one of the most potent level 5 abilities to be able to go into an early team fight, even if you're down and have that basically a sixth person online. You can send somebody in, lose all of their health pool, and then revive them with the Khepri, let them heal up in the well and come back in stronger for another fight. I think it's a great utility pick. Hopefully it's going to become more popular as a first pick, but being banned out, it's also very respectable. Terra going to be hovered on. I think another support that should be getting some more respect and some higher picking. Very good actually not good early clear until she hits level 2 after she puts that, is it Monmouth or whatever that is?
Okay, so it's the Monolith and the charge. Typically, I've seen a lot of Terras do is just dash to the first part. What I personally like to do is put down the Monolith behind my carry, let my carry just walk up to the first part of the wave, hit the wave while my carry clears it. That way he has to sustain. He's going to get poked because, you know, we're not going to clear wave as fast as the other people. but you're still getting that heal
I
on
think,
him and so on and so
and
forth.
that's the smartest way to play it at level 1 is just to stand in the heal while you're clearing the wave and try and absorb as much poke as you can before the wave clear advantage gets pushed down to your tower. Fenrir and Sun Wukong going to be locked in by a God Slayer Ronin. I think Fenrir, I just recently watched a video and a pretty in-depth guide on him. I think if he could do pretty good as that character, that's oodles of damage and a pretty easy ultimate for Poseidon, as long as you can catch them without their beads down.
That is terrifying. To the very thought of Fenrir fetching Camazotz or Thoth into that Poseidon ult is going to be devastating, especially
Absolutely.
if Poseidon puts down the Whirlpool in case Fenrir drops him early.
And he doesn't even
you know,
necessarily need the ultimate to do that. At full runes, his leap is going to have a pretty decent stun on it, which is going to, which if the Poseidon is fast enough, he can immediately put a whirlpool under their feet and let that Kraken do the damage. We all hate to see happen to us, but a couple trades coming out looking like Fallen Atom Bomb is going to be the one on the Fenrir. So Erlang Shen going to be locked in on the side of Vyse. I think Erlang Shen also gaining popularity simply because his auto attack damage is that much better than other warriors. He's able to box with pretty much he's able to box with the best of them, and his lane clear isn't terrible. That Meat can easily clear a wave and has some pretty good initiate potential. Going to be interesting to see what kind of plays they're going to be making.
Let's not lie here. We all know why Erlang Shen got popular here. It was because of your good friend Jared just destroying with Erlang Shen jungle.
Sidon did a pretty great job with that Erlang Shen in the jungle. I'm not sure if it's because of him everybody's picking him up, but I definitely understand why he's getting popularity. He is a good god. Even if he isn't first pick, first ban potential, I mean, you can ban him out. I think just keeping him out of the hands of a team that could use it pretty well is fine, but I think just being pretty useful to a team in multiple roles just gives him that flex pick potential to, if you want to pick him up early, leave the question mark in the other team to make them ban out something they might not have needed to ban.
I agree. So looking at these team comps, what kind of combos do you expect to see?
I think it's going to be pretty big to see how this Fenrir and Poseidon work. If if Fallen Atom Bomb and Delina don't work out very well together with that mid and jungle combination, it's going to fall apart. There's only so much that Shadow Soldier is going to be able to do on a Cronus, or Blonde Bomber is going to be doing on that Ganesha. Even though their team fight is pretty strong, with all the characters that they have, I really want to see some early plays being made with that Poseidon and Fenrir to get them ahead early, as late game both characters are not bad, but early game is definitely the bread and butter for them.
And for the other team?
I want to see a lot of safe play out of them. There's nothing prominent early game that they have in their advantage except for an Erlang Shen and Camazotz, so that solo jungle combination going to be pretty big if No Limit Storms rotates to that mid lane pretty early. Poseidon is a pretty squishy character, and if he gets that Meek off, he doesn't have to worry about that cripple. He doesn't have to worry about the cripple, and if he does have the Meek online, he can instead use the turtle form to absorb any damage from an incoming Kraken if he needs to. But still you have to be careful. If he's going to the solo lane, he's most likely going to be picking up that teleport, which is going to leave him without an Aegis or a bead. So you're still pretty exposed, but if you can bait out abilities, I think you'll be fine.
And what I expect to see is actually a level 2 gank. You won't. I don't know if you agree with this, but what I feel like will happen is Erlang Shen will then level up his root. We'll see Camazotz come out the jungle root. Erlang Shen will root the Sun Wukong, and Camazotz will do that early game damage I was talking about. And Erlang Shen will chase him down with the Mink or the Turtle, and that might be first blood if they can pull off that kind of combo.
Instead of going on the Sun Wukong, I actually would rather see that go into the mid lane against a Poseidon. A level 2 Poseidon is usually going to have a Whirlpool and either his movement speed and his second ability or just the extra damage at his first. But the knockup could be a good feel for him. But I think at level 2 that I would see it going towards the mid lane. But if Sun Wukong doesn't have his escape online, that could very well be a first blood in that lane as well. It all depends on the decision making on the side of Godslayer Ronin, what abilities they'd like to level and how aggressive and passive they want to play in those lanes. I just want to see Upgrade Only and Soggy Taco on their characters play pretty safe and try and play more for the mid game and late game and just let the damage that they have in all of their characters and the combinations that they have come through. Upgrade Only sitting at 7,000 worshippers on that Apollo. It's pretty spicy.
Oh yeah. That's
definitely makes sense as to why they picked that first. I think they might have thought that the team in Godslayer Ronin knew that he has that prominent Apollo, but I don't think they probably cared. I don't think Apollo's worth a ban right now, but if he does roll through them, I think if he does roll through them this first game, we can definitely see him banned out this next game.
Oh yeah. You gotta get rid of those good strong gods. I mean that They banned Wheelix. I mean, I'm not going to be surprised if the Wheelix ban stays, or if they kind of counterpick them by picking up Apollo themselves or something like that. See what they can do.
All right, getting into the game. My AI is slowly loading.
It's beautiful that how it does that, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I really do think that Godslayer Ronin, they really do have the stronger draft. I think pickups like Apollo and Gamazot, they're not quite the highest tier gods, which makes Godslayer Ronin's draft look a little bit more potent. But I also think that if Vyse Nation can put together their abilities well and get early pressure as well as play for that mid game and play pretty safe, I think that the game could easily go into their hands as well. Apollo, even if he is an A character, he's been doing the same ridiculous damage he has been with that passive ever since he came into this, ever since he came into the game, really. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how both teams respond to that. On the side of Godslayer Ronin, in the duo lane, we have Shadow Soldier 771 partnered up with Blonde Bomber 420. In the mid lane, it's going to be Delina as Poseidon in the mid lane, Runaway 1 in the solo lane as Sun Wukong. We've seen so much Sun Wukong lately, some great and some bad. Hopefully we're going to see some better Sun Wukong today. Love to see that happen. And Fallen Atom Bomb in the jungle as Fenrir. On the side of Vyse Nation, we have No Limit Storms going into that solo lane as Erlong Shen. In the duo lane, we have Astro Kitty partnered up with Upgrade Only as Terra and Apollo. Sagi Taco as Thoth in the mid lane, and Black Bullet 9 in the jungle as Camazotz.
I want to see how good this Camazotz is. If a good Camazotz can get rampant, I hope to see him become much more of a pick for strong junglers.
I don't think it'd be a bad idea by Fallen Atom Bomb to try and get in there and get a few auto attacks to immediately get those runes online. I think out of level 1, Fenrir is one of the stronger level 1 junglers. If he decides to rank up his Brutalize with full runes, that does AoE damage as well as the damage onto his target. But if he levels his 1, actually an early game coming out of the solo laner, Delina able to use an Aegis and a Whirlpool to avoid that damage. Able to barely stay alive. Just going to be able to, hopefully just going to use a couple pots and stay in that lane. Smart to just immediately use that Aegis to nullify that damage.
Got to make sure you're able to stay in lane, get that early farm. If you can't do that, you're going to fall behind, and it's going to cost you the whole game, I feel. Or at least
and I think his start actually, I think they might have realized or at least played these characters before. He started 3 health pots and 3 mana pots. Very high sustain for a character like that. He could definitely afford to take that poke in the early game.
Oh, and will Thoth go down? No, Thoth picks up the speed buff over the Camazotz. And it looks like Atom Bomb might be going down here.
Atom Bomb able to leap over the wall. He didn't get his Brutalize, which actually saved his life there, but not enough damage coming out of Sagi Taco yet. Just hitting level 2 as that Thoth not going to have anything online to get any prominent damage over at the duo lane. Just a bit of a boxing match between the two teams right now. Both of them at pretty high health. Some poke coming out of Shadow Soldier. I think even with the rank 1 Chrononos, the concept of the god is pretty easy. So as just playing a few games, get familiar with the character and the abilities, I think this duo lane is pretty scary with Ganesh and Chrononos up in your face.
You know what? I don't know what they were thinking when they made Ceranos.
They had good intentions.
They had good intentions, to say that.
What I've heard before is that Hi-Rez likes to make a god, make them super overpowered, just so they could watch the god, see what's good and bad at them. Then they nerf them to force players to be good. However, the first blood, I wasn't watching. Black Bullet 9 able to grab the first kill onto Runaway. You said it. You already called that.
Like
you called that one. It was the solo laner and the jungler able to pick up the first blood against the opposing solo laner. So good call there.
And it went exactly as I was watching it. It actually went exactly as I predicted. The route from the Erlang Shen as soon as Sun Wukong went to get away, and then the Camazotz coming in with that high damage just to kill him.
Good call by you. It happened a little later than you predicted, but there was still a lot of damage online at level 3 for Black Bullet Knight and No Limit Storms. So I can't say I'm super surprised, but Runaway was at least able to teleport back in, not sitting very much more worse for wear. Both of them at level 4 right now. Probably going to hit level 5 before he does is No Limit Storms, but still.
Over in dual lane, looks like Apollo's just poking them both out.
I think the wave clear advantage immediately turned to their side. As soon as Terra had that ability to dash through the monolith. It's called dash through the monolith twice, and
yep.
They do pretty well there. Over in the duo lane, Runaway and No Limit Storms had a big boxing match, but both of them a little too low on health to risk trying to go for that Thrit's going for that kill, but No Limit Storms is able to sustain himself right now. He has that Death Toll and that AoE auto attacks to get chunks of 8 and 4 health online for him. In that mid lane, however, Delane decided to try and rotate over to that dual lane that was immediately called out by Vyse Nation in a grouping of 3. The Camazot's helping out that dual lane and getting their support a kill. I don't think, you know, that was the plan, but Astro Kitty probably said sorry. Try to get you guys that kill next time, but still a good play so far from Vyse Nation.
What happens often with Terra is you dash to the monolith and the tick damage. You have a burst damage after the immediate dash and through the monolith, and then there's tick damage after it while they're rooted. And what might have happened is that tick damage, he might have been just low enough after that, but the tick damage might have finished him off while he ran around it trying to avoid the other allies. That could have gotten him the kill by accident. You gotta be
Runaway was actually forced to use his ultimate there, and with that ultimate down, I think that's going to leave Black Bullet 9 and No Limit Storms an opportunity to go ahead and kill Runaway 1 if he doesn't play this very safe. I think he needs to hug that tower line for now, and because he has no wards out there, got to be careful.
I agree. Looking at wards placed, let's see who's put down wards, and no wards have been placed at this point.
Yeah, I haven't seen any wards placed either, and I think that's all right. Earlier in the game like this, not a big deal. Runaway 1, not playing quite safe enough. No Limit Storm's able to easily go under that tower and grab that kill, I think. As Runaway, watching No Limit Storms gain his health back up with that Death Toll, you got to realize that the ability to dive a tower becomes that much more prominent. Fallen Atom Bomb going to be rotating over to that dual lane, getting a little bit of damage on him. The Brutalize going to be good. Not going to be quite enough damage, possibly going to be Atom Bomb falling here, but the ultimate's going to be good and start dragging him towards the tower, and Fallen Atom Bomb making a great play with that Fenrir. I think his skills as Fenrir are pretty calculated and pretty in tune. That was a pretty good combination. I think a little bit closer than he would have liked, but still able to pick up that kill for himself.
What point in the game would you say Fenrir is? A mid to late game or an early game?
He's an early to mid game god, and if he has a lead, he could still be pretty prominent in the late game. You could build so many things on this character, up to and including attack speed if you wanted to. But I think the early to mid game are his bread and butter. His base damage is ridiculous. His brutalized scales at 200% if you hit all 4 hits. So building early physical power and just trying to stay online through that early to mid game is probably his bread and butter.
Some action's happening.
Ultimate coming out of Shadow Soldier upgrade, only using that Aegis to try and keep himself alive for a little bit longer, and I don't think they have anything else online to try and pick up that kill. Good play and good thoughts, but not resulting in a kill, so I think feeling like they won that engagement is Vyse Nation, knowing that Shadow Soldier doesn't have his ultimate online right now.
You know, it's not quite uncommon as Terra to just be able to stay longer than you should and dash away with that double dash. It's so nice.
Absolutely. Already at 5 minutes, almost 6 minutes actually, only 3-1. Vyse Nation with only a little lead, less than 1,000. A pause immediately coming out. Delina looked like he DC'd, he or she, I'm not sure.
I keep trying to pause and keep unpausing. It's hilarious.
Yeah, there we go.
And what do you think of the game thus far?
Just close. I think the early play over in that soul lane really set the ball for Vyse Nation. Already sitting at an almost 1,000 gold lead. Just have to get a few more objectives to go their way before that definitely overcomes 1,000. But Godslayer Ronin is definitely well in it. There's not a massive level difference right now. I think just 1 or 2 level difference between all the characters right now. But it's still close enough to where the damage from Godslayer Ronin in their prominent early game is still pretty good. I think making plays on an early Gold Fury or trying to make a play and kill that squishy Thoth in mid, whatever they can do to try and get themselves a lead, but it's still pretty close. They don't need to be sweating too much yet, but still 3-1 is not really where you want to be at 6 minutes. So I expect to see some plays out of Godslayer Ronin to get themselves back into this game, even if they're not quite out of it yet.
Yeah, looking at the Wukong, what do you think he's going for? The protections against the Yolang Shin that early? You think he's that pressured that he needs those protections?
I think with the mobility he has with the bird, as well as the little bit of movement speed with the boots, he doesn't feel as if the physical power is his priority right now. He also has that Mumbas for sustain, so I don't knock getting tier 2 breastplate of valor, but I do think finishing off the boots probably would have been the better route, just to give your jungler more power to work with on your end to try and get better earlier kills. You're a fairly early game character with Sun Wukong, and Fenrir is also a pretty early game character, so having more power online I think is going to be more efficient than having defense, but still he's just playing safe, which is no problem. I think the mid laner was able to spawn back into the game just in time. If they unpause it here and he moves his joystick, he should back to base, and no harm, no foul. Yep, good for Delina.
Right. In my experience, it should only take about 2 minutes to get back into the you know, back into the game. But then there's some
Two,
insinuating
2.5, whatever.
circumstances where the other things, yeah, where other things happen, like you know, the game crashes or something.
Bit of contention over at that blue buff over in the solo lane. Runaway being forced to use his ultimate. The damage from No Limit Storms is just so much right now. That extra 25% and that auto attack damage, even with those protections, just shredding straight through him.
Already at full tier boots, he has more power than the Sun Wukong comparatively.
He has more power, but the Sun Wukong does have more defense, so I think it's a bit of a trade-off there, but clearly it didn't matter to No Limit Storms. He just ate through it and trotted back the lane nice and easy.
Right, with that steroid he has, I think it adds Pendu's basics there with the steroid as well.
Big kill for Black Bullet 9 in that right jungle, using his ultimate to pick up Fallen Adabomb. He got collapsed on by that solo laner as well as that mid laner. Unfortunate that had to happen to him already. Vyse Nation has some wards out over in that solo lane.
I feel like wards and solo are a huge,
Bit of contention over at this, over at these oracles. Ultimates coming through, and Sagi Taco able to pick himself up a kill. I think Blonde Bomber is probably going to be okay here. They don't have any CC online to try and hold him down and get the kill for themselves. So another objective for them and a couple of kills is going to put them at an almost 1,500, actually closer to 2,000. But Blonde Bomber making the interesting decision to try and stay in and contest the buff, really having no chance of getting it with 3 members of Vyse Nation there.
And Camazot's with that amazing passive on those jungle camps, just getting those, what is it, he gets more lifesteal by doing that or something?
Camazot's? He gets lifesteal.
Yeah, when he hits them.
I need to read up on it, but I know that if he hits a character with that echo thing that echoes back to him, he gets some life still in that mid lane. Delina in a lot of trouble here. The age is going to come through, but I don't think it's going to be quite enough. Black Bullet with an auto attack, able to put himself on a killing spree.
Like I said, if that Camazot's is good, he's going to be devastating.
If he's good, he's going to be sitting in those pools and healing up, using that life steal to his full advantage. Did it just freeze up for you?
No. Why?
It just froze up for me.
I'm at 8 minutes 25 seconds.
I'm at 8:11 and it's frozen.
Pause.
It just froze for me.
Oh. What to do? What to do?
I don't even know if I'm still streaming. Yeah, I'm still streaming.
You're still streaming. So
Yeah.
we'll just, I guess what we'll have you do is we'll stop and then just come back in.
Yeah, I can't. It's completely frozen. God damn it, man.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So just we'll end the broadcast and fix it.
Okay. I'm gonna have to close my... Yeah, that's what I have to do. Sorry, I will be...